The Philharmonic this past year has taken a lot from me, from all of us. But one thing that keeps coming to mind is the upcoming fantasy adventure film The Green Knight, distributed by A24 and starring my wife and husband, Dev Patel. It was originally scheduled for release on May 29th of 2020, and when we all moved into various stages of lockdown, I was hoping they would eventually announce an at-home release because, again, I had been really looking forward to this. But alas, big studios won out, and the release was pushed to July 31st, 2021. So I'll wait, I guess. But until then, I still need to release all this pent-up excitement and energy that I have, so I'm making this video on why The Green Knight is about to be the best release of 2021. If you're not aware, The Green Knight is an Arthurian legend. It's originally Gawain and the Green Knight. You know, King Arthur and his round table, Camelot, all of that. And I hate to say it, but I truly love those crazy white boys. I blame it on the fact that I read this series of books based on the King Arthur tales as a kid and loved them, and I was very impressionable, so my love of them just stuck. Ever since, I've just been chasing the same rush that the initial Arthur tales brought me. The only thing that's ever been close were Merlin and Morgan in the Magic Treehouse books. I think what a lot of retellings get wrong is how absurd the original stories were. Like, this poor guy just pulled a sword out of a rock, and a lady lives in a lake. And this guy was supposed to be the incarnation of a demon, but ended up just being an old dude who does crazy magic. And I mean, I guess that stuff isn't that crazy if you're looking at ancient tales. I know from the trailer it may seem like the Green Knight seems to be going down the dark path too. And who knows, maybe I'll end up disliking it as well, but one thing that is keeping me going, first of all, Dev Patel. Also, the trailer just looks so genuinely good. But the main thing keeping me going, the story of Gawain and the Green Knight is insane. And I'm really excited to see how they're going to go about adapting it, because even if you do make it grimdark, there's no way you can ignore the absurd elements of the story. It all begins at a big old feast in Camelot. King Arthur's throwing this grand old party and everyone's having a good time. And Arthur's like, all right, boys, how about we spice things up with a fun adventure story? Something fantastic that you've never seen before. And as most stories like this go, his desire is granted. In rides the Green Knight, a giant green man riding a green horse, literally rides his horse right into the ball. All he's got on him is an axe and a whole lot of nerve, because he immediately declares that while he had initially busted in here to challenge one of the knights to a fight, he sees now that they are all too weak. Instead, he presents a game. Someone can use his axe to strike him once, however they'd like. But the catch is, in exactly 1 year and 1 day, the Green Knight will be able to strike them back in the exact same way. As you can imagine, no one's really jumping on the chance to stab the guy, but also, this is King Arthur's house, so he can't just let this challenge go unmet. So he's like, if no one else does this, I'm gonna have to do it. And then all his knights of the round table realize this at the same time, and they're like, oh shit, we probably shouldn't let our king just accept this random weird guy's challenge. And if somehow that this guy is tricking them all somehow and does end up getting a chance to straight up murder the king, that would not be great. So before Arthur can accept, Gawain jumps in and is like, hey man, I'll do it. And Arthur's like, all right, you said it, not me. And Gawain takes the Green Knight's axe, steadies himself for a moment, and then slices the guy's neck clean off. That's the end of that. Just kidding. The Green Knight picks up his beheaded head? His his severed head, all bleeding and everything, and tells Gawain, meet me at the Green Chapel in 1 year and 1 day. And then he just hops back up on his horse and rides off. Talk about life of the party, more like death of the party, execution of the party. I know there's a good joke in here somewhere, but I can't find it. So here, let's just do a classy little time skip here. It's nearing a year later, and Gawain sets out to uphold his end of the deal. This part of the story, depending on the version you're reading, has some extra fun and adventures, and I'm not sure how much they'll include in the movie. He ends up coming across a nice castle and tells the lord and lady there about the whole story with the Green Knight. And I guess the Green Knight must do this often because they're immediately like, oh yeah, the green guy up at the Green Chapel, that's like right down the road. It's like a 15-minute walk. And Gawain is like, oh shit, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I technically have a few days before I'm supposed to be there. And the lord of the castle's super chill about it. He's like, don't even worry about it, dude. Just chill at our place until you need to go. And I know this is super generous of me, so I'm gonna make you a deal. And Gawain's like, of course, because everyone in this godforsaken town needs to speak in riddles and conditional statements. The Lord tells him, I'm a hunting man. I love hunting. You can partake in anything that I hunt, but in exchange, you have to give me anything that you receive during the day. And Gawain's like, I don't know what I'll get while I mooch off of you in your own house, but yeah, I'm down. But Gawain didn't take into account what a hot ladies man he is, because later that night, he receives a visit from none other than the lady of the house, aka the lord of the house's wife. And she's real into that ancient Britain man stink. Gawain's not really into cuck play though, and honestly, it does seem like an inappropriate abuse of power for the lady of the house to approach this poor guy who's riding to his death in a few days and is at the mercy of their hospitality for the time being to proposition him. But there's also like this whole thing with like courtly love and stuff like that, which I mean, I don't know that much about and I don't really care, so whatever. Beyond the details, Gawain agrees to a kiss, and that's all he agrees to. So the lady gives him a kiss and then she leaves. Fast forward to dinner, and the Lord has hunted some real good meat or something for the house. I don't know, I'm a vegetarian. But remember the deal. Gawain has to give the Lord anything that he receives while he's there. And Gawain's like, I know what I have to do. So when the Lord asks him if he's received anything, Gawain stands up, saunters on over to the head of the table, leans down, and plants a wet kiss right on the Lord of the Castle's lips. The Lord guy is surprised, of course, but he's also pretty down and is like, so who gave you that gift? And Gawain is all coy and stuff, and he's like, this guy's cool, but I don't know if he's that cool. So he just tells him, hey, you didn't say we had to tell you who gave the gift, haha. And the Lord guy is like, all right, playboy. Next day, same deal with the lady, except it's 2 kisses this time. So back at dinner, you know how it goes. The Lord brings the meat and Gawain brings the kisses. The Lord's probably getting real comfortable with Gawain at this point, but Gawain's still not giving away who it is. Next day also happens to be the last day before Gawain's big battle with the Green Knight. The lady of the castle comes into his room and tries to give him a gold ring, which Gawain refuses immediately because, like, hello, you can't just go around accepting gold rings from your homie who you sometimes kiss his wife. The lady is like, all right, but how about this? And she gives him a gold and green sash. She tells him that it's enchanted and will protect him from all physical harm. Gawain is like, oh yeah, that would actually be great. Thanks. I would love that. But, she says, you cannot tell my husband about this. Gawain agrees, and I feel like at some point he's got to be wondering if this is just like a thing for her. Like, does she always sneak around with their house guests, kissing them and trying to give them gifts under her husband's nose? But he also probably decides it's none of his business, so he gives her 3 smooches. That night at dinner, Gawain and the Lord are probably getting real comfortable, just making out at the dinner table in front of all the dinner guests, as Gawain drops into his lap and gives him his 3 kisses. But notably, he does not give him the sash. So this moment in the Gawain story has had a lot of academic analysis behind it. In their paper, A Kiss is Just a Kiss, Heterosexuality, and its Consolations in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, Carolyn Dinshaw points out that each evening when the lord of the castle and Gawain exchange their spoils of the day, wherein the lord of the castle presents his winnings, his meat, that didn't come out right, the meat he's hunted, to Gawain, and Gawain in turn gives the lord of the castle each kiss that he has received. He also does so in the manner in which he has received it, in a comely way, in a courtly way, tastily, feelingly, and seriously, solemnly. Kisses were seductive, erotic in their first instance. To complicate the consideration of those kisses, remember that if Gawain had succumbed fully to the lady, and if he had honored the terms of his promise to the lord, he would in fact have had to have sex with the lord to yield his winnings, that is, his sexual conquest, in his own body, just as he has done with the kisses he received. Homosexual sex is thus one hypothetical fulfillment. In fact, we might say the logical end of the interlocking plots the lady and the lord play out. The next day, Gawain travels up the hill to the Green Chapel for his fated meeting with the Green Knight. Under his armor, he has the sash tied around his waist and a whole lot of nerve because he walks up to the Green Knight, sticks out his neck, and is like, "Let's get this over with already." The Green Knight's like, "All right, you said it, not me." And he picks up his axe and swings, but he stops short of Gawain's neck. "You flinched, weak." Gawain's probably a little embarrassed, but he shakes it off. "Oh, my bad. Do it again. I swear I won't flinch." And the Green Knight's like, "All right." Gawain sticks his neck out, closes his eyes, and waits for the strike. He feels the rush of air as the Green Knight winds up and swings once again, but again stops short of his neck. Gawain's getting kind of pissed now because he knows he didn't flinch this time. "What the hell, dude?" Sorry, I was just testing you." Gawain's probably huffing in indignation now, but he sticks his neck out once again. "Just do it already." This time, the Green Knight winds up, swings, and lands a small cut on Gawain's neck, but doesn't strike with the full force of the axe. Gawain's bleeding a bit, but it's nothing he can't handle, and with that, the game is over. He picks up his sword and shield, ready to fight, but the Green Knight just laughs. Probably partly because there's no way Gawain could actually beat the guy in a fight, but also because, and tell me if you saw this coming, the Green Knight is actually the lord of the castle Gawain had been staying in. He explains that he didn't hit Gawain on the first two strikes because he was truthful about what he'd received in the castle for the first two nights he'd stayed there. But on the third, he'd tried to conceal the green sash. That's why the Green Knight gave Gawain the small wound. Which, I mean, I would think lying at all means his head would get the big chop, but I guess that's just me. So Gawain's probably having a relieved and nervous laugh about the whole thing before he eventually realizes, "Hey, does that mean your wife was in on the whole thing the whole time?" And the Lord's like, "Hell yeah, she was." And Gawain's like, "So you orchestrated this whole thing?" Including the part that made it so that we would basically be making out every night at dinner in front of all of your dinner guests? And the Green Knight's like, "Why? What's a few kisses between the homies, am I right?" And Gawain is like, "Yeah, you're so right." And Gawain is allowed to ride back to Camelot. And him and the Green Knight are like totally cool about it. I think the whole thing ends up being orchestrated by Morgan Le Fay, who like has a grudge against Arthur and the whole Round Table and Guinevere and all that. But we're not getting into it right now. Yeah, he takes the sash with him as a token of his broken promise, and when he gets back to Camelot and tells his buddies at the Round Table about it, they're like, "No, you definitely did the right thing. Like, you could have literally died, bro," which I think is fair. And then I like to think that they probably all kissed each other on the mouth, too. When looking at the language of the poem, the story, depending on the retelling that you're looking at, Gawain is often described in a more feminine way than usual. There's a lot of emphasis placed on his beauty, his virility, whereas the lord of the castle is described as very masculine and manly. You can even see it in Lord of the Castle is the only one doing any of the hunting, bringing the winnings and spoils of the day back to Gawain. Which I just wanted to point out as kind of like a play on gender roles within the text, and something that I hope they will translate to screen. So yeah, you can see why I'm so excited to see how the movie turns out. It does seem grimdark from the trailer, but I'm hoping they'll be able to walk that line between dark atmosphere and dark comedy, because it could end up being something really amazing. Plus, apparently the R rating for the movie is because of full frontal nudity, so fingers crossed. I'm just worried about the release because it's been pushed back like a year, and there's been almost no promotion for it so far, aside from its initial trailer release, which I'm hoping will change closer to the new release date. And also this weird at-home board game that costs $35. Like, I literally might have bought it, but it's just a role-playing game for $35. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. If it turns out to be terrible, I don't even care. I'm ready to delude myself into thinking that it's actually good, just like Comic Bros did with the Joker. Anyway, like the video for Dave Bordeo, please. And subscribe for the gay lord that kept making out with Gawain in front of all of his dinner guests. And comment for me. And that'll just be between the two of us.